Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kenny. It's been a hot day here today, folks, but it's gradually cooling off a little. Now I'm going to do something today different than I previously do. Normally I will be probably talking to you about an old truck or a new truck or this or that, etc., etc. But I'm going to be talking to you today, maybe just for this time, or we don't know for sure, but I'm going to give you a few tips on how to grow organic food or how to grow an organic garden. Now, I want to share with you some tips, and I want you to hang around. And if you're into gardening, I want to give you some tips that might help you to make yourself or to help yourself to grow a better garden. I want to start off by showing to you my raised bed potatoes and my raised bed onions. Now let me give you a tour, so come along. Let me get up out of my chair. Now I want to show you these potatoes. Now, folks, these are 100% organic potatoes. These were planted back in late March, about the last week in March. Now, these plants have endured 2 heavy freezes with 2 heavy frost bites, and they are still very much alive and really thriving. Now, let me move on down and I'm going to tell you the size of this bed. This bed is 8 by 12 and I've got 2 of them, okay? And I still do the old traditional gardening, but I favor the raised bed, and I'm going to show you why. But let me tell you first of all that these are totally, like I said, 100% organic potatoes, and they are grown that way. Now, notice here, there's 2 things about these potatoes that most people would say, how do you do that? Let me share a tip with you. These are weed-free. There is no weeds in my potatoes, and there is no bugs on my potatoes, and they're grown in totally organic soil. Now I'm talking about compost made from organic materials, nothing synthetic whatsoever. Either I grow it organic or I don't grow it at all, and there's some reasons for that. Now let me go on across here. Like I said, this bed is 8 by 12, okay? Now you can see my tarp up there. That was what I covered my beds with when the frost hit about 3 weeks ago. I kept that tarp there. Now this is my second bed, and it is the same identical size as that one. And the potatoes are awesomely huge. Now, I want to say this to you. If you're interested in growing an organic garden, either this year or in the future, let me give you a couple of 3 tips here, about 3 tips maybe. To really get your garden to thrive, you've got to start with organic compost, organic material that will produce real results. That's the number 1 tip I want to share with you. I suggest to you to make your own compost. And of course, you have the right to choose whichever way that you want to. You can go buy it. But let me advise to you and say to you that if you do purchase compost, you're going to pay a price, and you're going to pay dearly for it. Guess how much the compost that I grow these potatoes with, how much they cost me? Not 1 red cent. I utilize the resources that are available to me. And I'm talking about organic waste, kitchen waste, yard waste, About a dozen or so different organic materials go into my compost, and that's what produces such massive growth. Now, let me say to you, you can go another route. Now, you can grow it traditionally with chemical fertilizer, but I'm going to tell you something. Chemical fertilizers, one of the reasons I don't use them is because they are like a steroid. They produce an artificial or a counterfeit plant that's more toxic than good. Now, don't judge me by saying, what are you talking about? Or maybe say, you can't be serious about saying that. Chemicals and artificial fertilizers will do more damage to your soil. Now, you cannot grow. If your soil is dead, I would use the term just really pale, or it's just broken down. And the reason that is for this. Over the thousands of years, your soil is basically depleted of the natural nutrients it takes to raise a thriving garden. And the soil is really depleted if you've used it over the years with chemical fertilizers. Instead of that soil being enriched for growing massive crops, the soil is depleted and it's literally dead as a result of the chemical fertilizers. So take it from me, organic is the way to go. Avoid the chemical fertilizers, and you won't be just putting down stuff that raises, actually, it's synthetically grown, and I don't want to eat it. Okay, I don't want to eat it. Now I'm going to take you right on around and show you the end of this potato bed. Now here is another tip for you. I planted these, and they are about a foot apart. All of these potatoes are planted in this bed and that bed, which amounted to about 50 or 60 pounds of seed potatoes. A tip for you to grow real food is make sure you have vibrant, healthy seed before you plant. That's extremely important. It doesn't matter what you plant them in. For one particular reason is, if your seed's not healthy, it can't thrive. It won't produce a yield. And you need to make sure that before you plant, you have vibrant, healthy seed. And another thing is, this soil, I put it in my bed back in early spring, and I filled my beds. And when you fill your beds up with raw organic materials, the benefit of it is you don't have to use a plow. You don't have to worry about weeding your bed of potatoes. That produces real results, and there's no work to it. You just simply plant your potatoes, your onions, your broccoli, your cabbage, etc., 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 and there's no work to it. I mean, who doesn't like that? I mean, I love to get down and dig in dirt, but I also like the free time that I get to do other things too, and not just to spend it on my knees pulling and cutting weeds. That's a lot of hard work. Now I want to show you something else and give another tip or two. The old timers used to say in this part of the country that if you produced a lot of big time potatoes with a large growth on them, they would say then you will have small potatoes. Now that will depend on a few things, and let's move on and you can kind of figure that one out for yourself. Aren't these beautiful? Aren't they really beautiful? And I'm telling you, this soil that they are upon, this in a raised bed, this soil here will grow grass, but it won't grow potatoes. So the raised bed, if you live in a place where you cannot grow it traditionally, make the raised beds. So let's move on down to something else. These beds, there are 3 of them very close together. These are my onions. I planted them about a week after I planted my potatoes. Now notice they're about half grown. And I planted them in total organic soil. Now you can see the leaves on top of that organic soil. The leaves, that helps to keep the weeds down. That is my tip for you today. If you're growing something like this in organic material, throw a few leaves on top of it. It doesn't do anything but just helps keep the weeds down, and it also helps keep moisture in so the plants can grow bigger and grow faster. Now look at this. Take a look at over here. My cameraman's going to give you a shot of these beautiful, beautiful. These are a yellow onion. They grow about that size, depending on what they're planted in. They grow massive. And right through here, now up there's a spot. I don't know what happened when I planted them. I must have said, okay, I thought I got them all, but I must have missed those, or otherwise they would be there, right? But these are absolutely, totally 100% organically grown. It's the only way to go, folks. With food prices the way they are today, I hope that you utilize these tips that I have given to you. It's only for the purpose of to help you, because so many people, when they're starting out, they don't know how to grow stuff, and you need to listen and learn and put the benefits that I'm sharing with you to practice, because it will pay off with food on your table, and you'll be able to sustain yourself and your family with this food. So there you have it. I've shared these tips with you on how you can grow your own organic food. So thank you for watching. And don't forget, if you like this, give us a thumbs up and ring the bell and subscribe to the channel. And listen, you have a blessed day.